Welcome back to Masters Tour Jönköping, and we're going to continue with some more coverage of the round 9 matches, the final round of Swiss before we get into tomorrow's top 8 single elimination. Although we have got some games coming up, Dan, I'm always excited for finals day on Sunday, as there's suddenly tons to play for and no second chances. It's not Swiss anymore, right? Tomorrow it's going to be if you lose, you're out. If you win, you get to progress.
Yeah, so, win or basically stay on the bubble forever. And of course, with certain windows open, right? Like players who get to the top 8, this is their last chance to get a spot in Grandmasters for the upcoming season. We take the best performers over the course of the first 3 Masters Tours and then pit them against each other and see who's earned the most prize money, which is kind of the equivalent of points. I know some people are like, oh, why don't we just do a point system? This is effectively a point system. Take out all the zeros.
It's just a lot of points.
It's just a lot of points. It's like, hundreds of thousands of points that you can redeem for actual money.
One Grandmaster spot.
Yeah.
Here we are, though. We're going to go into Warma versus pianolkiller, and both players sitting at that 7-1 spot, of course, after this game. One will be at that 8-1, which is looking great for tomorrow. Warma currently leading 2-0, but we're going to go into what I can only imagine will be a relatively quick Druid mirror, because that's just how the matchup normally goes.
Yeah, and Warma is, kind of playing for the pride of France, so to speak. We have, the history of Masters Tours. Just heck, the history of a lot of open competition has been largely a story of how dominant the French community has been in Hearthstone. But, this time of top 8, we don't have the 4 out of 8 Frenchmen that's currently there. So perhaps Warma can play for that in honor of Leisha and Irox, Jim, Belkane, all these players who have been doing very well in Masters Tours historically.
Yeah, I do foresee a future, maybe in a year or so's time, when I get to introduce Grandmasters France as the instead of being the European region, the way it's going, it's just going to be full of French players. So I get to see how they perform over a little bit longer of time, since they have been dominating very recently. But so far, this Emerald Explorer sticking to the board for Warma does give him something to build on, whereas pianolkiller, tons of card draw, but just that little bit slower to get to that Mount Cell turn.
Seems like a really good opportunity just to kind of play an old-fashioned ramp druid. Some people called it big druid style, where you just kind of every turn threaten your opponent. And, we've mentioned this a few times throughout the weekend, and also just throughout historical Hearthstone, is that druid has the hard time answering druid. They're so big and small, and they're a class that struggle with hard removal. That being said, this is the one chance for pianolkiller to turn this around, and if there's a card that can do it, Mount Seller with 4 or 5 cheap spells could potentially land him back to the game here.
And specifically, the double Bog Beam Coin Crystal power allows him to at least kill one Emerald Explorer and honestly get quite close with the help of that Griffin to potentially killing another.
Right, and this is the explosive power of Druid. pianolkiller had nothing the previous turn. Absolutely nothing. And Warma had 2 very sizable taunt minions at 4/8 stat line, and it looks like he's up to almost nothing at this point.
Yeah, and it's always weird to do that trade that Piano just did with the Griffin. On one hand, well, it could just die to a Moonfire, right? Then you've lost 4 damage. But then on the other hand, if they overflow or crystal power the minion, then you've kind of just traded for no reason. So still just a very a strange turn to work out whether you do want to put that Griffin in or not. But I think on average, it's worth just dropping in there.
Yeah, this is a hard turn because it doesn't look like Warma can actually deal with that Mount Seller. The taunts in the way are very problematic. If the taunts weren't there, he had the opportunity just to drop Evasive Worm and the Bog Beam. But as it currently stands, I don't see a convenient way for Warma to eliminate that Mount Seller off the board. In fact, I wonder if he's thinking about just going for Overflow to try and improve his chances for the future turns here. Oh, jeez. It's bad when you have to do this against a Druid and get to stick the Mount Seller unless you spike the second Bog Beam.
But you're right. I do understand it, though, because if you can't kill the Mount Seller, then whatever you do is, I don't want to say pointless, but it feels like it, right? Because if you you can clear all the beasts and not the Mount Seller, then your opponent just plays more spells next turn and You're in the same spot, but with less cards.
All right, well, Piano Killer can choose to pretty much just do the same thing back.
I wonder if this is like the full trade to the glow fly, maybe?
Oh, interesting.
With the hero power as well, just to finish it. Keeps the Mount Seller up. It's on low health, obviously, but at least you then have a board of glow flies.
Okay. Am I mistaken in that attack actually was not consequential?
Yeah, I guess so, right? If it attacked, dealt 5, healed 5,
am I
nothing died.
Here? I guess he didn't. I guess he resolved already to not attack with his Mount Seller anyways. So he's just like doing it for fun. Some people do that, you know, kind of like the hero power your opponent if you're a priest.
Could be interesting though, because if the attack was the difference between, say, a griffin or not, then things could have looked a little bit different. That emerald could be dead, right?
Yeah. If I'm missing something obvious, feel free to correct me. I'm
we
always
probably
curious
are.
about that kind of stuff.
I think we missed a lethal yesterday, so I guess it's about time for us to miss something today as well. So it's okay.
All good. It's all part of the production run of show. block J10 close out the series, but you know block J9 is miss lethal right before that.
Right.
So from Warma's perspective, how do you deal with a big wide board like this? I guess he doesn't have many options. Not like he has his own Mount Seller. How tragic is this to have a full hand and feel like you don't even have good plays?
Yeah, and funnily enough, though, the 2/5 taunts on the board are actually a nightmare because it's just a lot of health, right? To try and get through before you even get close to that Mount Seller. So I do respect this play from Warma, actually, of just saying, I can't really deal with this board in any way. I'm just going to make a board of my own, hope something sticks, and maybe with the help of a Savage Roar and the Evasive Worm next turn, I can fight back. But honestly, Piano Killer is just one Savage Roar away from a good time himself.
It's the March of the Silverback Patriarch. Oh my gosh, he gets the Soul of the Forest. Loses the Ysera, so that is kind of a significant occurrence. If Piano Killer loses this board, he pretty much just has that Glowfly Swarm as his last resort at this position.
I do wonder here if it's ever going to be like full trade from Piano Killer and then just overflow. Just heal all his minions back up again. Warma doesn't have a board anymore. Back to square one for him. Piano Killer's got a full hand.
Yeah, I actually do like that a lot. It pretty much just cements his board, and I'm also very certain that Piano Killer would most likely pick up some opportunity to leave him following turn. Right. He had a Savage Roar. But, you know, he's also totally fine taking it slow, too. I think no matter how he chooses to go about this, he's so far ahead of Warma.
Yeah, there was a few options, obviously, with how big his hand was. And I think as long as he just does the thing that keeps him the board all of the time, then it's going to be a good choice. Whether it's, you know, statistically the best outcome, we can argue over that later on. But for now, as long as his game plan is to just stick this board and not let Warma stick anything long enough for it to be a reasonable threat, Piano Killer's going to stay in a good spot.
Yeah, this is looking still like a dicey situation. He has to really hope that Piano Killer has neither card draw or Savage Roar in hand, otherwise he is dead. That's a tall order at this juncture of the game. Might as well go for it, though. You can clear up that Mount Seller, maybe there's some way for him to get back to the series. Very much ahead of the series.
Yeah, and this is the, I guess, the woes of playing Druid. If you think it's good enough, other people are probably going to bring it, and that means you have to play mirror matches. And sometimes there's just not a lot you can actually do to dig yourself out of tough spots like this. I do like the general approach from Warma though, just saying, well, there's no point trying to do anything weirdly like fancy or anything. It's just I'm gonna make a board and then Piano Killer either lethals me, or he has to consider trading. And the longer the game goes on, especially with that Ysera discarded that we saw earlier from Piano, maybe the longer the game goes on, the more chance Warma's got of actually pulling a win out of nowhere here.
Yeah, and this looks like Piano Killer is still pretty much just cruising because he can do the same thing as what we saw the Warlock do in the previous series, which is just slowly but surely grind out
Right.
the other Druid player. But that Savage Roar, how much damage is this? 5, 10, 15 plus another 14 is rather 60. Wait, am I miscounting?
Honestly, I didn't look at it. I was kind of just listening to you count, which is definitely me doing a bad job. But that was just sat listening.
Potentially, like either one off or he had exactly. But either way, he had him covered with that Iron Bark, and he's just gonna go ahead and get all of those attacks in.
Yeah, plenty of damage for lethal.
Yeah. He didn't need the Iron Bark. Yeah, very lethal. So, that's going to wrap up game number 3, and Piano Killer again really needs to get that momentum back on his side, because if he wins this series, he is going to the top 8. And Druid mirrors are volatile and some of the hardest matchups to guarantee to go through, especially if you're playing a lineup that's really similar.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We talk about it a lot during Grandmasters, but if you are playing, if you do end up in a mirror match in Conquest, it's actually worth a significant amount winning those, especially when, as you said, it is the Druid one that can be tough to get those wins with anyway. So getting the win there does give Piano Killer a good chance, but still, it does mean Warma still has 2 more goes with this Druid, which is the benefit he gets from leading the series, at least initially 2-0. So he's going to go on Druid once again. But yeah, I think that game was a good display of how you win the mirror if you're ahead. And that sounds maybe a little bit silly. Well, if you're ahead, surely you're winning, so you just finish the game. But the trick really is you don't need to rush the game if you're ahead. You just need to stay ahead and just stick on board, make good trades, make good removal, and don't give your opponent any chances of anything crazy happening to get back. So I think, although it is a very weird mirror to watch and to talk about, I think Piano did execute that quite well in terms of just keeping control of that board.
Yeah, and so here we go. A Druid versus the Demon Hunter, a matchup that should be good for the Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter has been very consistent at pressuring the Druids. Although, this is a pretty decent opening hand here for Warma. He has the Claw immediately to answer. He has Fungal Fortune and Bot. They're all reasonable cards to have. In fact, I would argue that these are some of the best cards that you can have for Druid outside of just the ramp here with Fungal Fortune.
That's it, right? He really is just one ramp card away, and the joy is if you have Fungal Fortunes, it gets you closer to the ramp on time. You don't need that ramp in your opening hand all the time, right? You just need to get to it in a reasonable fashion, and we'll see pretty quickly if that's going to be the case with this Fungal Fortunes. Oh, another Claw and a Crystal Power. This is just a lot of removal here. And again, we see some of this tech coming in to Warma's list with his Druid of not only running double Moonfire, double Crystal Power, but double Claw as well. Means that he has just more and more answers to the openings from Demon Hunter.
Yeah, and with that, Piano Killer once again. Just kind of hoping that he has the ability to answer, but Bog Thief just to respond right back. No momentum from Demon Hunter. However, both players are kind of at a standstill. Piano Killer not really developing much. Warma doesn't really have many good plays on 4.
Yeah, to be fair though, if both players are going to be at a standstill, I think the Druid player in the form of Warma here is going to enjoy that a lot more than Piano Killer, because the longer the game goes on and the longer his health sticks out, the high 20s, the more he can get to some of these late game big power plays here. And he already has double Iron Bark, which means as soon as he hits that turn 7, or maybe early, depending on what happens, he can start putting these really big taunts in the way that require either multiple swings of a Warglaves, or it's going to require like a Cane to slip past.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, Warma does have opportunities to draw cards. There's the Mount Seller.
Oh, okay.
But that's a nice consolation prize. Brett the Dream to ramp and draw. And hey, no harm, no foul, right?
Yeah, there we go. Looks fine. I didn't see a thing throw down. I don't know what you're talking about. That looks like the handy Drew to me. That is so big, though. Look at this. The slow, not slow opening from Piano, but Warma having the response early in the game. Now with the sprinkling of ramp, he can go Emerald Explorer into a Mount Seller turn. Now he can even diverge a little bit and go Glowfly. He could Glowfly and just heal if he really wants to here as well.
Okay. Twin Tyrant might be very reasonable against the mid-sized threats. I mean, it answers cards like the Glaive-bound Adept on curve.
Yeah, and I think on curve's pretty key, isn't it? Next turn, Mount Seller, tick that box, turn after. Okay, I can do any trades that he can and set up maybe perfect Twin Tyrant. And honestly, if that happens, I don't really see a way for pianolkiller to dig himself out of this game because it's just so many minions are going to be on board.
Yeah, look at how much damage he's willing to incur too.
He has to, right? He's basically trading his life for more minion pressure on board right now, and he just has to.
Yeah, I am.
I got you, friend.
Okay.
I do wonder if does this ever become Glowfly, Frodo? Like Glowfly, double Ironbark, and then now the Bog Beam.
I supply only the finest creatures.
Sorry, I was trying to wrap my head. Is it worth really trading that 4 extra? I guess it is. That extra 2/2, and you know you're going to get that ramp
right
for the Mount Seller. So, yeah, I guess I have no arguments. It does look kind of weird, right? Like, why did he Chaos Strike in the middle of all those attacks? It's because he wants to squeeze out every possible attack.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, he's just using all his health that he can to just generate as many minions as possible and make it as awkward as possible for the Druid to answer this. The more minions pianolkiller has, the more chance he's got of getting through this Mount Seller.
Right, and for his sake, I hope it's worth. He does have this other Warglaives to make this second wave even stronger.
Slight problem with that. If he wants to put them into the Mount Seller, he might just die. So he won't be able to swing that quite as often as he did last turn. He's got to be a little bit careful here.
The thing that my mom always said to me and my sister growing up is once is enough. I think it would be definitely swing only one time into the Mount Seller.
Very relevant here.
Yeah. He does have 6 damage remaining in the form of minions, so those can go in.
What if pianolkiller is just a god and just swings anyway? It's like, no, I'm getting value out of these Warglaives. It's fine. This is one swing could kill the Mount Seller. I'll go down to what? 4 health? That's safe. Slightly susceptible to the double Savage Roar we see in hand.
Oh my God,
he's doing it! It was a joke, Piano! It was a joke!
I mean, if his opponent has 1 Savage Roar, he's still safe. Question is if he has Savage Roar and change, and Warma does. If he had a Moonfire, if he has Savage Roar plus Claw, I guess we're going to use both his claws.
Well, I feel bad now for suggesting that play. Oh, it happened. Warma going to take the victory here off the back of just a double Savage Roar to buff a total of 0 minions and just get him for 4. Wow. Raid from Piano did not pay off. Warma takes the victory 3-1.
Calculated risk for Piano, but obviously did not pay off. I don't know. Like, if you get that damage in and you didn't keep your minion board, you still can make up for a lot of it by having the Glaive-bound Adept in your hand. So it's something that I'm sure the breakpoints will change a lot depending on what you think your opponent has. Because if he makes the read that his opponent's holding cards like Overflow and other ways to gain life, then it's harder, right? It's much easier for us to say because we knew both hands. But in the end, I actually don't think I hate that play because it would require a certain combination of cards for his opponent to kill him that he's unlikely to necessarily be keeping. And at the same time, he needs to find a way to close the game soon because that Druid was starting to climb really far ahead.
Yeah, at that point, you could see quite clearly that Piano just said, okay, I'm going to put myself down to 4, but the board's empty for the Druid, and if he doesn't have a way to deal with this board or kill me, I just win next turn. And I think I agree with you completely, because Warma got to fend off the early game so easily and then got to that late game. The longer it goes on, the harder it's going to get, because he had to do that initial wave of tanking with the Warglaive. So his health was not exactly high anyway. So I do respect the play, honestly. I was half joking about it, half not. But it does make sense with what he had in hand. The Warglaives and the Glaive Bound set up for lethal. Hope it's good enough, but we can see that it was not. But that is going to be us done for the day. That was just the final few matches we wanted to show you from round 9. And that means all of the rounds of Swiss are done. And I believe, Dan, we can reveal who has made top 8 and who will be playing it out for those top spots tomorrow.
Yeah, so it looks like our top 8 is set, with Warma joining us for Championship Sunday. And you saw Monsanto get the win, mean that he does as well. And so the top 8, as it stands, will feature... Oh, are we going to show it off?
Yeah, we can put the bracket up. Yeah, we do have it. There we go. Take us through it, Dan.
So we have Pignus versus Monsanto. Monsanto, squeezing in there, but all these players were 8-1 and better. Everyone else was 7-2 and worse. So a clean top 8 cut. Then we have Diki Zver. Oh, jeez. I'm going to have to go ahead and read that a few times more off broadcast. Versus Dead Draw, who is due for a very good performance, finally making another breakthrough. Is this going to be enough to get him into Grandmasters? It's likely, if he's going to continue to advance, a win will all but guarantee it. And then we have Rami, who I believe is joining us in Grandmasters now for the Americas, going up against Habu Gabu. And then we'll close it out with Stone from World Elite versus Warma, who you just saw on broadcast.
Yeah, a pretty exciting top 8, honestly. Although you may not be overly familiar with a lot of these names, they are players we have followed throughout the Swiss. So by all means, check out the VODs if you missed out on any of these. You can catch up on some of their matches. But honestly, for me, Dan, I'm just so happy to see Dead Draw there. He's been so consistent. I really hope this gets him into Grandmasters and he continues to do well in the playoffs tomorrow as well. I think he's 100% got what it takes to take the whole tournament, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, we can't forget, how strong some of these up-and-coming Europe players are. So hopefully we get to see even more challengers to the throne, because, it's really great to see some people's dreams made true. But in the end, we also really want to crown champions and find out who is next in line for Grandmasters. So I'm excited to see what tomorrow's going to bring, Raven.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited. And as just a one last reminder, we are going to be going to single elimination tomorrow. That top 8 is going to be played out to the final, and we're going to see who's going to not only take the victory, but who's going to book those spots into Grandmasters. So very, very exciting day overall. But we are done for the day. So thanks up for watching. From Frodo and myself, we hope you had a great time, and we'll see you tomorrow.